Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. And today I'm so excited to be bringing you some recommendations. This video is actually sponsored by my channel members. So if you don't know, besides having a Patreon, I also have channel memberships. They don't get talked about as much lately, I feel like, but channel members were the very first supporters of this channel. So I very much am appreciative to them. And one of the benefits, along with others, is getting to choose a video that gets prioritized and also that they sponsor each month. There is also early access to all my videos. That is the only place where you can get early access to stuff is through the channel membership. So I'll have a link to those down below. And today we have Tortured Heroes. I was going through my list of recommendations and I realized that I hadn't made this one in a long time. I do have one other one, but I literally made it when I still used to sit in front of the window and when I was about 100 pounds heavier as well, but I will link it up here. It also mostly has historicals in it because I hadn't really gotten into my dark romance bullshit yet, so I didn't have any of the dark romance tortured heroes. I do still have a few historicals here, but that video was mostly all historicals, so keep that in mind. But I have 10 or 11, I think I have 11 recommendations for tortured heroes, so let's dive in. Also want to put out, we'll obviously see this as we go through. There's going to be all different kinds of tortured. Some of it, they have literally been tortured. Some of it, they have lots of angstiness in their past. But with each of them, the key factor to this hero is them not feeling like they're good enough for the heroine. To me, that is a big aspect of the tortured hero. Obviously, there are many different things that go into that, but for me, that's what I was looking for when I was putting this list together, is heroes that, whether it's part of the conflict of the story or just in their inner dialogue, they don't feel good enough for the heroine. So there we go. That's my criteria that I had for it, but I do have it across all genres. So the first one I want to start with is a recent release that I know a lot of people loved. We have Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This was the 5th and final book in the Chestnut Springs, which was so bittersweet to read. And of course we do have Bo Eaton. I want to call him Easton, but it's Bo Eaton. And he is a war hero, but he doesn't feel like a hero. He came home from an injury. He's been discharged, but, he's having some PTSD. He's having a lot of, survivor's guilt and aspects like that. This story happens to be fake dating between him and Bailey, who is from a family that is... They're basically like a crime family in this area, and they're not very well respected or very well thought of, would be the nice way to say it, right? And she just wants to be able to earn enough money to get out of this town, and her family name is really holding her back. And so through some back and forth, her and Bo decide on this wager that they will fake date and see if it can help lift her chances, because his family's reputation is of course stellar and everyone just loves them. Everyone adores them. So yeah, that is their kind of wager that gets them started with this. But it is a big part of Bo feeling like he's not good enough for Bailey, thinks he's too old, too broken for her, and he doesn't want to hold her back. So that's what I feel like makes him a tortured hero. All right, next we have an absolutely delightful tortured hero. This is The Taming of the Highlander by Elisa Braden. This is book 2 in the Midnight in Scotland series. I'm so happy to say I wasn't able to put this in my TBR video for it because it wasn't announced yet, but the 4th book in this series is coming at the end of December. It's coming on the 28th, I think it's 2 years after the 3rd one came out, because that one came out in December of a year as well. But anywho, this book, I loved it so much. This one we have Broderick McPherson, and he has been tortured and imprisoned. He lost an eye. He's just feeling absolutely broken. And now that he's finally out, he is kind of just at loose ends. He's this like wild beast, like roaming his land, no, not quite, but he's just feeling very broken. And then we have Kate Huxley, who she's visiting her brother in Scotland, who he was the hero from the first book. And she witnesses some things that could cause her to have to speak against Broderick. And so they end up in an arranged marriage, or a marriage of convenience, to keep her from having to like testify against him. And Kate is actually like really into this because she thinks Broderick is a hot hunk of man meat, you know. I relate, girl, I relate. But Broderick feels too broken and messed up. He thinks that, you know, anything sexual, he would just crush her because she's this small, dainty. I think she's a bookworm too. I think she is a bookworm. And he's just this like big, all the McPhersons are listed as like almost 7 feet tall or something. They're all just huge. And he doesn't feel good enough for her. But Kate is determined to prove otherwise. So there you go. This is a great one. The audiobooks for this series are fantastic. We're keeping on with some historical here, and we have a series that I feel like it's cooled down a little bit, people talking about it, but I know it'll come back up again when a new season starts. But we have When He Was Wicked by Julia Quinn. This is like, I think this is book 6 in the Bridgerton. Man, it's been a while. Yes. 4, 5? This one's 5? I don't know. I think it is 5. But either way, this one is about Francesca. See, now I have to check. It's been so long. Yes, this is about Francesca, who she was actually married pretty early on and lived with her husband. And her husband died of, did he get malaria? I don't know, but he died young, leaving her without a child. And so she's now like the widow, and his cousin Michael is now the heir. And he has had a thing for Francesca for a long time, but he feels like he would be betraying his cousin if he went after her. And Francesca decides that even though she's not, you know, she doesn't have her husband anymore, she very much like wants a baby. She wants a family, and that means she needs to find a husband. So she plans to, you know, after her time of mourning is done, and she did really love her husband. She really did. But she knows that he wouldn't want her to be sad forever, so she's going to move on. The thing is, Michael doesn't want to let her because he doesn't think he should have her, but he also doesn't want her to be with anyone else. So that puts us in a bit of a pickle then. It means you, Michael, might have to step up to the plate. So this is a lovely, delightful, tortured hero one. It does have some sad themes in it. You're dealing with grief in this. There is a miscarriage in this. So there are some heavier topics in this one, but this is, for me, in at least the upper half of the Bridgertons. It might even be like second or third for me. It's been a long time since I've reread these, but I know that every time I get to this one, it moves me quite a lot. I do have one of the ones that it does have the step back on the back of it. Let's round off the historicals that I have here. There is also Seductive Me At Sunrise by Lisa Kleypas. Lisa Kleypas has so many tortured heroes. We could have gone with Derek Craven. We could have gone with some of the Ravenels. Like, there are a lot. But I just recently reread this book, so I thought this would be a good one to share. This is book 2 in the Hathaways. This one is between Wynne and Kev Merrypen, who has been kind of like adopted into the Hathaways family when he was young. He was a Romani child that had been like beaten and left for dead. He was like banished from his tribe, and he was taken in by the Hathaways like before their parents had died. And after their parents had died, he just like, he stayed with them, and he's always looked out for them. And now he's at this place where Wynne, she has been sick for a while. She got sick the same time that like Leo and Leo's fiance were all sick, and she just hasn't quite got back 100%. She's a very frail constitution now. So her and Leo end up going to, I think they go to France for a while to try some different like restorative cures that happen there. And before she goes, she like, you know, tells Kev how she feels about him, and he's just, the way this man thinks of her, he thinks such precious things about her, but on the outside he's just full on grump. He's like, nope, I don't have any feelings for you, don't even think about it, like, nope, move on with your life. But when she comes back from France, having been gone, I think it's like 18 months to 2 years that she's gone. I don't know, she's gone for a while. And he's just been miserable while she's gone. But she comes back with her and Leo and one of her doctors from the place that she was at, who has every intention of asking her to marry him. So now Kev is in this position where he doesn't trust this guy who wants to marry Wynn, but also he's afraid to take her for himself. And so it's time for him to shit or get off the pot, as my dad would say, right? He needs to make a move. I know, speaking of romance, that's probably not the best analogy that I've ever used, but I don't care. It felt fitting. Lisa Kleypas has this way of, whether it's one of her heroines or one of her heroes, she makes them so frustrating for their train of thought, where they're just like, why are you thinking this? This is stupid. What's wrong with you? But you also just care about them so much that you just want them to snap out of it. And that's what Kev is to me, is he drives me to insanity, drives me all the way to the edge. And then when it finally breaks, it's beautiful. So, gotta love it. Then I'm throwing in one. This isn't really a historical, it's a classic, but I just felt like it because to me, this is one of the OG tortured heroes for me. And I thought that I would put it in this video because I can. So I picked Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte because I think Rochester is a wonderful version of a tortured hero. I think, you know, obviously he has some secrets that he's hiding up in his attic. And, you know, he's just lived a life of, you know, I mean, not a life of hardship because he is from a wealthy family, but there's a lot of burdens that have been left on him. And, you know, when he meets Jane, when she comes to, you know, be a teacher to his ward, she brings this like life to the place that he can't help but want, but he knows he shouldn't take. And, you know, this isn't my favorite classic. I also love that it is like a first person classic. That is why it's one of them that was the easiest for me to read when I was young, and I still love it so much now because I was able to connect with it in a way that I struggled with connecting with other classics as a kid. So anyway, I'm putting this in for Tortured Heroes because I can. It's my channel and I'll do what I want to. All right, another favorite of mine that I recently reread, and when I knew I was going to do Tortured Heroes, it was a no-brainer, is Stolen Heir by Sophie Lark. This is the Romance Me book box special edition of it. So I'm showing this off. I think I have 4 different versions of Stolen Heir at this point. But yes, this is book 2 in the Brutal Birthright series. I know we've seen that series everywhere now, and it makes me so happy. But also, I think that it deserves all the hype coming back around, because I'll tell you what, I did just reread this, and it had been a couple years since I had. I mean, I'd read it multiple times the year that I read it, but it's been a while since I read this. And so I reread this book and I was annotating it. And you know, I honestly still found this book so satisfying because it is a pretty simple story, right? It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's a mafia kidnapping situation. It's, you know, he wants revenge against her family, and so he's going to use her as the bait to do that. We've seen it before, but there's just something about how Sophie tells this story that I connected with it, and obviously not just me, thousands of other people have as well. That just inspires so much devotion from me for this series. And so again, this might be a basic recommendation, but I stand by it. Miko is definitely a tortured soul. When he is young, when we first see him in this book, it's just him and his twin. And because yeah, they were twins. And she ends up killing herself after she's been raped and beaten by some men. And Miko makes it his mission to take out all of those men. And when he gets caught trying to kill the last one, the mob boss there, the Bratva, they take him in. And so he becomes a right-hand man there. Eventually, he's not his right-hand man right away, but eventually he is. And now it's 10 years later, and not only is he the head of the Polish, it's the Polish mafia, right? I don't think that it is. I don't know, but he's Polish anyway. Yeah, it's in Poland that first happens. But he is wants revenge against the Griffins and the Gallows for killing his pecan, and so they're gonna do that by stealing Nessa. See, it's been too long since I've been reading these because I'm forgetting all the terms for everything. So anyway, definitely recommend. All right, next up we have Don't Forget Me Tomorrow by A.L. Jackson. We'll give you a little peek at the people cover. Look at that beauty right there. This is book 2 in her Time River series, which I believe is supposed to be a trilogy, because I think the third one will be the last one. I think it's supposed to be called With Me Tomorrow or something, or With Me Forever. I don't know. I can't remember, but I know that it's coming at the beginning of next year. So this one is a single mom. This is a friends to lovers, and our hero is very tortured because he used to be involved with some bad dudes. He'd done some drugs. He'd sold some drugs. He was a part of some things he shouldn't have been. But now that's behind him. The only thing is the man that he used to do all that for still has his claws into him just a little bit. Okay. And he is in love with it might be best friend's little sister even too. I can't even remember. There's so much here. And this one has so many. But either way, she has a little boy. She owns a restaurant or cafe. And they're just friends to start with this. But she's always wanted more from him. And he wants more from her, but he doesn't think that he can have her because of the connections that he has. He's doing everything he can to rid himself of those connections, but it could be very dangerous for him and anyone he loves when he tries to do this. So he's definitely keeping his distance. So I love this one. The audiobook is fantastic. I love A.L. Jackson's writing, and this series is really the series that solidified her for me. Because I had read some of her other books, but this is the series that I really connected with. There's the first one right there. That hero is a little bit tortured too, so if you want to start with number 1, you definitely could. All right, then I'm throwing up a little twist here. I would consider Max Antarius a bit of a tortured hero. Okay, so I'm throwing up this one here. I haven't recommended The War of Lost Hearts in quite a while. So here we go. My best friend is actually listening to this series right now. She's listening to my audiobooks, and it's so fun to revisit it while she's reading it. We're talking about it every day, and I was reminded of how tortured Max is in this. But this book is about Tasana, who grew up in slavery. She had been a sex slave, basically. She had been beaten. There's scars. She has a little bit of magic, just a little bit. Or that's all that she's explored before. And at the beginning of this story, she feels like she has earned enough money to buy herself free, but instead, the man tried to attack her and beat her, and she accidentally kills him. So she killed her master, which is very bad. So she goes on the run to find the Order, which is an organization of magic wielders that could help her destroy the bad guys in this. So, and then once she gets there, they want to train her up and, use her to fight, and they give her Max Antarius as her, do they have his last name on here? No, but they give her Max Antarius as a teacher. So we also have then Max in here, and he doesn't want anything to do with the orders anymore, but he's also not really allowed to leave, which is explained in this more. And so when he's asked to train Tasana, he just doesn't want anything to do with that either, because he knows what her fate could be. He knows the hurt that can come with working for the Order, and just that it isn't a good thing. It wouldn't be good for her. So yeah, he is very reluctant to do that, but she's so determined to go back for her fellow slaves and help them that she's like, I'm doing this either way, and you can either help me or not. And so he's like, all right, fine, I'll help you. But she's bitten off a bit more than she can chew, and we see that as we work our way through this book. So really, really love this. This series is fantastic. Highly recommend that you give it a go. And yeah, I mean, Carissa Broadbent, I can't wait till she has another book coming. I know she's still kind of on her maternity leave, but I can't wait to see what she does next. All right, next I have another book that is a part of a whole series with tortured heroes, but I wanted to recommend one that I don't always recommend from that series, all right? So we have Dark Desires After Dusk. And this is book 6 and or 7, depending on which catalog you're using here, of Part of Immortals After Dark. This one is one of the demon brothers, the Woweed. And Cadion Woweed is sent to get Holly Ashwin, who is the key to getting a weapon that they need. The only thing is, Cadion is her fated mate. She is his perfect match, but she needs to be handed over to a very evil man to be traded for this weapon. And he is kind of just like taking her along as a lamb to the slaughter without her knowing. And he feels so horrible about that, but like his kingdom of demons has been ruled by someone else for a very long time, and he is partially like to blame for why they haven't been able to get it back yet. So him and his brother Rydstrom, that is their goal, is to get this back. And so he's like, well, I can't let my feelings for her get in the way because I need to trade her off. But we'll see. You know, handing over your fated mate to a certain death, I don't think he will sit well with that, right? But he's definitely his tortured hero for that. The guilt is eating him alive, and now he's in this like lose-lose situation type thing. All right, and then the last one I have for this recommendation video is Surviving Rain by Shay Savage. So this is another oldie for me. This was fun. I was bringing up some old ones we don't see all the time, not just the top TikTok favorites, right? So Shay Savage writes a lot of tortured heroes. She writes a lot of emotional stories. And this one is a shipwreck scenario where we have the captain of this is, wow, I totally don't remember his name. That's been a long time. Yeah, I have no idea what his name is. Whoopsie. Oh, Daniel. Is it Daniel? Daniel, and Rain is the girl. So anyway, he's a captain. He's a drunk. He is a sad, sad man. He's just, gonna drink himself to death and all these things. And then there is a shipwreck, and him and Rain are the only survivors. And first they're on a lifeboat together, and then they're stuck on an island together. And this sweet, innocent woman just starts like eating away at his like all of this like pain and all of this like torturedness about him. The only thing is, like, can they still be together when they come home? Like, will that work out? And also there is a lot of like secrets in his past and more reasons than him just being a grump why he doesn't think he should be with her. So as we find those out, I think it's very interesting. So yeah, this hero is definitely a jerk face for a good portion of this one, but I really enjoy this. I really enjoy Shay Savage's books, so I do highly recommend this one to you. So there we go. Those are my recommendations for tortured heroes. Let me know some of your favorites. Again, I do have another video. It is a pretty old one, like I said, but you can watch it for nostalgia's sake, right? Thank you so much to my channel members who sponsored this video, and thank you so much to everyone who supports my channel. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below, because that all helps us in the algorithm, right? So have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.